Yo, what is up, my fam? Today my name is XL Orbit now. Um, I'll do a separate video on that later because I don't feel like really going over that in this video. But mostly this video is just to show you the power of Flak, character in Borderlands 3. He's a little stupid OP, so let me show you the build. So for our bossing build, we obviously want to run Fade Away. Okay, so we get this skill, and a lot of this skill tree is pretty much an exact replica of Jolt's dude, and I'll leave a link to his video in the description of the Deputy Black build, but mine is pretty much the same, but there's a few changes, not to the skill tree, but like to the items, because I don't get a lot of the same items he does. Like I get the Hellwalker, I get the Lucian's Call, the Lineage, which I need a better lineage. Or, yeah, actually, I mean, that lineage isn't terrible, but I'm going to try to get that fade away anyway. I've also got a testing on a monocle, stuff like that. I am still farming for a Becca, and I'm still farming for a corrosive Queen's Call that I haven't gotten yet. I'll farm for that at another point. And I need to farm for a better bounty hunter. But anyways, so Furious Attack, this is kind of obvious. So basically this stacks gun damage, and after you shoot an enemy, so this will stack a ton of damage over time, and I think this goes up to 10 stacks max. Yeah. And then we get just one of this, because we will have a ton of health regen, like a ton and ton of health regen in the blue tree. So we only need 1 point in this, and our pet will basically instantly get all of his health back, which is neat. This isn't really used for bossing as much as it is for mobbing, because when you're mobbing, a lot of times you have a hard time surviving. So yeah. Obviously, lick the wounds to help make your pet revive you. That's very obvious. That's a really good skill. You should pretty much always have this skill on every time you play Flak. While moving, constantly regenerate health and gain damage reduction. Well, you're pretty much always going to be moving in mayhem mode. Like, there's no way you can stand still and do whatever. So this again is kind of an obvious skill. You want to go for this. You're never going to not be moving. Now the Fast and the Furious, this literally is basically base gun damage like added, because for the most part you're going to always have above half health. So yeah, that's just basically free damage. Now if you have the Season Pass 2, personally, the purple tree isn't terrible, but to be honest, it's not that great. And so most builds nowadays, there were some builds at level 65 that used this tree some, because this warloader is kind of broken, the pet, but none of the skills in this tree really are that great. Now we move on to the blue tree. This is mostly stuff that buffs your pet, and this is really good for mobbing, because your pet can do a lot of damage to things. So this, obviously, just base pet damage. Kind of self-explanatory. Flat gun damage and action skill duration. This is just a flat gun damage buff. Very helpful. Alright, so whenever Flak's pet deals damage, Flak regenerates for health for a few seconds. Whenever Flak deals damage to an enemy, their pet's health is restored for a portion of the damage dealt. So, considering how much damage you're doing per shot, I mean, you're able to do millions and millions of damage per shot. This will allow your pet to heal even with only 1% of your damage. Like, it'll heal instantly. So that is why you only want to put 1 point in here. There's no point in putting more points in here. He bites. So when Flak pet take damage, the pet returns some of that damage to the attacker. Again, just survivability, kind of useful skill. Okay, this is a really important skill, because when Flak's pet deals damage, Flak and their pet gain a stack of Frenzy. Each stack of Frenzy increases damage, and these stacks decay over a few seconds. So, your pet will pretty much always be attacking things, and you'll pretty much always have max stacks of Frenzy, which again is 10, and you'll be getting 40% bonus damage from that. So, this, pet damage and pet movement speed, helpful. You know, just kind of self-explanatory there. When Flak takes damage, a portion of all of the damage they take is shared to their pet instead, and their pet deals bonus damage. So when you pair this skill with this skill, basically, the damage you're sharing, that's 15% of the damage you're taking, is gonna go to your pet, but when it's healing your damage into their health. So that's why you want to max this one out, because it's always going to be healing so long as you're always doing damage, which you should always be doing damage. Increases the power of pet bonuses granted to Flak. So all of these bonuses I'm getting from my pet are basically tripled. That's what this skill is about. I mean, that's a pretty simple skill. Alright, all damage dealt by Flak and their pet is increased. Additionally, the maximum health of both Flak and their pet is increased. So this is just a free damage buff and a free max health buff. While Flak is at low health, a portion of all the damage they take is converted into healing for their pet instead. So yeah, when you're low, half of the damage you take is just going to be straight up ignored, and is going to be healing your pet, which is kind of insane. Your pet should pretty much never die or go down. Whenever Flak, okay, this is kind of an obvious one because you usually always want to get the bottom skill of a tree if you can. Whenever Flak attacks an enemy with a melee attack or scores a critical hit with a weapon, while aiming down sights, they establish dominance over that enemy, turning them into an ally for a short time. If the enemy is a beast, the duration is doubled. While under the effect of dominance, the enemies are more likely to attack it, and it constantly loses health until it dies or the effect ends. Once domination ends, a radiation nova is created centered on that enemy. Only one enemy under the effect of dominance at a time. Only one enemy can be under the effect of dominance at one time. And an enemy may only be affected once. So yeah. You can't, I mean, that one's, again, kind of an obvious skill. So now we move over to the red tree, and this is the final tree you'll really put anything into. Interplanetary Stalker, pretty much you max this out every build. Standard, standard, standard. You always want this. This is like one of the most important skills. So, kill skill. Whenever Flak kills an enemy, they gain a stack of Interplanetary Stalker. For each stack of Interplanetary Stalker, they and their pet gains a bonus to all the damage dealt. So you're just getting 13% damage per stack. Your pet is gaining bonus damage per stack. Your action skill is going to deal bonus damage, which I think applies to the damage you deal and fade away. But so they gain a unique stacking bonus based on the enemy type killed, and this can, each time it stacks 3 times. So each enemy it can stack 3 more times. Head count. Whenever Flak scores a critical hit, there's a chance the action skill is reduced. Again, very helpful to getting your fade away back faster in boss fights. Whenever Flak scores a critical hit, there's a chance for 1 ammo to be added to their magazine. This is a super important skill because if you pair that with fade away pretty much always critting, your how the King's Call, critical hits return 3 bullets to your magazine. So if you pair it with the King's Call on that, you can pretty much shoot infinitely. So these, you used to do, like, when you used to do one project, like, single projectile guns on Flak, like single projectile Jacob's weapons, this right here was really important because, like, if you use the Skull Masher, the Skull Masher used to do a ton of damage, and if you get those extra projectiles, it would be insane. And the Ambush Predator, while there are no enemies nearby, well, we don't even go this, but this is, again, you're not going to be able to use Ambush Predator that much. It's a good skill to get, like, if you're going for more of a mobbing build, but this isn't, I mean, this works for mobbing for sure. Hunter skills become much more effective and have longer duration. Again, kind of obvious, you want all of your skills to really have good stuff. So, the most dangerous game, really, really, really important skill. And when you get a stack bot, it's preferable that you get, like, 3 points in this skill. Because this deals so much damage. And, so basically, whenever Flak kills a badass or stronger enemy, they gain increased critical hit, gun damage, and handling for a long period of time. And their pet receives increased damage for a long time. So yeah, you get a 25% bonus damage, but if you get 6 points in this, you deal like 50% bonus damage, which is a ton. Galactic Shadow. Flag deals increased critical hit damage, and enemies are less likely to attack them. Again, kind of obvious. Now this, normally you would go this, because this is flat gun damage, and this is very helpful, but we just honestly don't have enough points to fit this in. But if they ever up the skill cap, I believe you would want to max this out next, because this is more flat gun damage and action skill damage. Megavore, kind of obvious. This gives you a crit chance no matter where you hit an enemy, so sometimes if you hit an enemy like right in the chest, it can still crit, or like in the leg, it can still crit, which is really important for Flak, because Flak is all about crit damage. So yeah, so now here's the main change to the build that I do, which instead of what Jolt's dude says to do, he says that you should swap out Gorillas in the Mist for Until You Are Dead, and that's your mobbing build. But for me personally, I go, Rack Attack. And the reason why Rack Attack is just so good for me, in my opinion, is because of the healing. Like, when I'm mobbing, the healing is helpful. Of course, the additional charge and the cooldown rate is helpful. But my Maggie has this Anoint, which really helps me, and that's probably my best mobbing weapon. Let's see. So basically on action skill end, yeah. So I have a bunch of on action skill end anoints too. So um, this will deal a ton of bonus damage. Like when you get that shotgun ranged effect, you get so much bonus damage. It's not even funny. And every time you start an action skill, it will trigger that shotgun ranged, which is insane. And then on top of that, after the action skill ends, you'll still have that shock bonus and the bonus incendiary damage from my grenade, which is just crazy. And the bonus, and for when I'm using my Hellwalker, the bonus damage from the 2 magazines. So yeah. So basically the whole idea of my version of it is that I have 2 weapons to use after Fadeaway is gone, and then have 2 weapons to use during Fadeaway. Because these 2 I want to use during Fadeaway, that's why I have the Fadeaway as active anoint. These 2 I want to use after Fadeaway is gone or for mobbing, because these make me deal bonus damage out of my action skill. So yeah, basically, that is it for the build for the most part. So now I'm going to show you, of course, well, in items, obviously you want a King's Call. Very, very important. This is pretty much the center of the build. Rowan's Call, again, very important, center of the build. One of the center builds. A Maggie. Maggie's just such a good weapon. Like, it's just such a good weapon. You always need a Maggie, I would say. Hellwalker, this is really good, especially, now this is situational weapon, and this is the difference between mine and Jolt's build. He puts a launcher here, but I put the Hellwalker because when you're fighting Tyrene, or you're fighting those bosses that have stages, I'm able to one-cycle her with the Hellwalker because of her eye. When you shoot her eye with the Hellwalker, it does a pile of damage, and it's really helpful. And with you, you get that with Leave No Trace. I get my ammo back to pretty much every time I'm critting because this thing has so many pellets. And yeah, so basically, Stackbot. Again, it's preferable. This is a very bad skill layout. I believe you want +2. Or wait, no, this is probably about a right skill layout, actually. But if you can get either base weapon damage or base Jacob's weapon damage, or base Jacob's crit damage, that's really helpful too, because most of the time you're going to be using a Jacob's weapon. But this build, I wanted to be more towards like, you can use any type of weapon build, so that's why I just went more for that regular weapon damage. It's not as much of a buff, but when you have all those damage buffs in the skill tree, and you have your Revolter giving you that damage buff, and this giving you a damage buff, and these stacks giving you damage buffs, yeah. So anyways, now it's time to show off the build. So we gotta put on Fadeaway. And yeah, so So I did farm the Revolter on stream the other day, and I farmed the King's Call on a stream a few days ago. And so this is exactly what happens when you get all those bonus damage stacks together. So yeah, it gets a little crazy. You can literally one-cycle Graveward with it. This build is just stupid OP, and yeah. Also, if you guys want, I will leave a download to my save in the description, or if you want to download someone else's save, that's cool too. Or Jolta's save, that's cool too. We didn't get bad loot this time, but yeah, you get the point. This build is stupid OP, and if you want to start mobbing instead of bossing, it's quite literally this simple. You just change over to Rack Attack, and you just change over to your Bounty Hunter. And there you go. You're ready to mob. And Rack Attack is enough to trigger your the shield break. And so you're getting that bonus damage. And that bonus max fire rate too. And considering how much you're able to use Rack Attack, you're pretty much always going to be Shock and Rage while you're mobbing. And yeah, so that's the build, guys. It's stupid OP like I just showed you. And yeah, so hopefully I might be streaming more tonight. Who knows? I've streamed 3 days now. I might stream more tonight with your boy XL Vibes. And yeah, I will see you all later, and peace out.